Hello, everyone. It's nice to have you here. If this is the first class that you've joined with me, my name is Emily Van Hoff. I am a graphic designer and an artist and a maker in Chicago. And lately, I've mostly been making quilted wall hangings. And you can find all my work either on my Instagram at Emily Van Hoff or on my website, which is emilyvanhoff.com. And this is my cat, Laszlo, who is going to be getting in the way today because he's in a mood. Sorry about that. Yeah, and I have been teaching one class a month with in partnership with Michaels and Fiskars. And the class today are these pom-pom mirrors. They are kind of my take on the tufted trend that's really popular right now, except using pom-poms instead of tufting. So we are going to start by making the individual pom-poms, and then I will also walk you through how to kind of assemble everything. These are the pom-pom makers that I'm using. They are Clover brand, and you can find them at Michaels. They make it super easy, and I think they're real handy to have around. You never know when you might need a pom-pom. So I definitely recommend picking those up. And today we're going to be using the two smallest ones. The big one makes an enormous pom-pom, which is very fun. But not what we need to be doing today. So I guess before we get started, I'll just kind of show you the three that I have here because they're all a little bit different. This one is using all solid color pom-poms in all the same size. This one's a little bit more straightforward. This one is using larger pom-poms around the outside edge and then smaller ones in the center. And the outside ones are like multicolored. And then this one is a little bit more funky. It's got a variety of sizes and they're all multicolored. So I'm going to be doing, I'm going to do a small one today just so that it doesn't take quite as long, but it will be sort of similar to this idea. So if you want to switch to the overhead view, you can grab all the yarn I've been using. So this is what the pom-pom makers look like. They have these arms that fold out, which is what you'll be wrapping the yarn around. So I'll just kind of get started and walk you through how I do it. Yeah, you just kind of hold one end of the yarn, wrap it around. I like my pom-poms to be very dense. I think it gets a little bit closer to the tufted look that way. So I hold the yarn like pretty tight while I wrap it. And I also wrap them quite full. And to do the multicolor look, you just kind of add more colors as you go. You wrap two colors at a time. I like to kind of blend one color into the next. Just so it's kind of like more of a gradient, but you could do more of like a chunky color look. You can do all one color. I'm going to kind of fade from that first darker purple into a lighter one. So I did the combination, and now I'm going to do just the lighter purple. And I wrap mine quite full. Let's see. So that when you close it, like it does close all the way, but it's pretty snug there. So you can see it is closing all the way here. The other side, I think I will do Now let's do this like purple to yellow gradient. Yes, no need for knots. You're going to be cutting all of these in half anyway in a moment, so it just kind of has to hold on for now. They'll get tied together later. So yellow is going to be the color on the opposite side, so I'm going to start with that, and then I will fade it into sort of this peachy color. So I'm going to do peach and yellow at the same time. Okay. And Cat found his pile of treats. I used to distract him. I need to do not for right now, buddy. All right. So wrapping both colors to help blend them, and then I'm going to cut off the first color, which was yellow, and then keep wrapping peach until it's full. And make sure you're getting sort of all the way around to the edges, as well as the middle. And again, I'm keeping the tension like pretty tight. Wrapping it very full. That looks pretty good there. And snip that off. So once you have it wrapped, we're going to cut up the center here. There's kind of like the break in between the two sides. And I'm using these Fiskars, they're the easy action razor edge ones. So they have this spring that like makes them open on their own, which makes especially the trimming part of this so much easier. You're doing a lot of scissors cutting. So it definitely keeps your hands from getting tired, which is nice. And they're really sharp, which is helpful for this part because you're cutting through a lot of yarn. So you can see here, we've sort of cut both sides in half. And the next step is to take a length of yarn. Yeah, this is about yay long. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure it's long enough to tie a knot. You're going to wrap it around the maker, like through that same spot that you cut it, and pull it tight. So you kind of make sure it's getting all the way into the center, and then tie a double knot super tight, because this is what's holding all of these pieces of yarn together. And I tie the knot at this spot on the maker. Because we're going to be using these strings eventually to tie the pom-pom down. So this will be kind of the top of your pom-pom, if that makes sense. And you want to see both colors. If you were to tie the knot like on this side, that means that this is the top and you wouldn't see any of this yellow side. So once you have that tied, you can open the arms and then grab both sides and just kind of pull it apart. And then you have a pom-pom. You can tell it's like super lopsided and like a little bit more raggedy than the ones I'm using on the mirror. And the way that you fix that is just by trimming it a whole bunch. And you can see, before I start cutting this one, you can see it's like sort of like oblong. Like these ends are especially extra long. And on the next one, I'll show you a trick to kind of avoid that happening. But for this one, you're just gonna kind of start trimming. And you want, the goal is to like make it a spear. And I trim like pretty aggressively. I cut quite a bit off because that makes it a little bit more dense. Like the closer you get to the center, the more dense all of the yarn pieces will be. You don't want to like cut it all the way off. You want to leave some behind, obviously, so you still have a pom-pom left. But I cut off quite a bit. And that's sort of personal preference. I think it looks a little bit more like that tufted look when you cut off quite a bit. You can see how handy these scissors are when doing this because we're doing like so many cuts. It definitely saves your hands. I'm just kind of like noticing spots where there's longer pieces of yarn or areas where it doesn't look like quite round. And very important, I didn't mention this, make sure you're not cutting off the string that you use to tie it together. So I kind of like hold it by that spot while I'm trimming. This is like making the pom-poms part of this. To make enough of them to do the whole mirror, it like takes quite a while, but it's a wonderfully like mindless task. It's a good thing to do while you're like watching TV or a movie. I always need to keep my hands busy. I'm very bad at just like sitting and not doing anything. So this is a fun thing to do that doesn't require you to like think a whole lot about it. All right. So you can get like pretty perfectionist about this if you want, and kind of like keep fluffing it as you go. I would probably trim this one down just like a little bit more, but I think you get the general idea on that one. I'm gonna do another one. Let's see. Maybe we'll start with orange. You can kind of experiment with, you know, if you want to have multicolored ones, sort of different ways of wrapping your color. Maybe I'll try this one like a little bit more chunky instead of the gradient look. So we'll do some orange and then let's see. Try some purple. And again, make sure you're getting like these edges kind of wrapping it all the way around. And then let's do, we'll do yellow and purple at the same time. We'll switch to this stuff. I feel like this is kind of the fun part. You can figure out, you know, what your final pom-pom looks like when you sort of mix your colors in different ways and figure out how you like it best. Again, holding the yarn like pretty tight, wrapping it real full. All right, so we've got it wrapped. And then again, we're going to take our scissors here in the middle. Okay, Laszlo, you don't need to be here. Other side. And then on this one, I'm going to show you, this is like a little bit of a shortcut for trimming. I mentioned that it was like that kind of like oblong shape on that last one. If you, I don't know how easy this is to see on camera, but I just kind of like cut off the extra yarn. Like you can see like this white part here sort of sticks out to the side. If you just kind of cut that off before you take it out of the maker, I find that that saves some trimming time. You start out a little bit closer to a spear than you would otherwise. Do that. Again, cut a length of thread, put it through the center of the pom-pom maker and like really pull it super tight to get it into the center there. And pull it tight. There. And then you can open the arms. Break it in half. And then it's certainly not perfect, but I think it's like a little bit closer to a round shape to begin with. And you can see on this one, like on this side, I did more of like a stripe rather than kind of mixing the colors together like I did on the last one. You can see what that looks like. And this side is a little bit more speckled because I did a lot of like 2 threads at a time. All right. And then the same thing, just keep kind of fluffing it, trimming it. I'm not going to completely finish this one because it takes a while, but yeah, see how that looks from the top. It's a little bit different. And this one's like a little bit more blended, one color to the next. So lots of options to play with there. I'm going to end my trimming at that point, but I probably would keep going a little bit longer if I was actually going to use them. But we'll move on to the assembling part next. Get all of this out of the way here. Oh, and then I use this size to make like the smaller pom-poms, so I used it for the orange ones here. It's the exact same process. It's just a much smaller little maker. So This is the mirror I'm using. It's a cute little 5-inch one. I also got it at Michael's. I'm very excited. I haven't used this size yet, so I'm excited to see what a little one looks like when it's made. So we are going to trace the mirror onto, this is like a plastic canvas. Let's see if I can show that a little bit closer. So it's a, yeah, plastic canvasy stuff that's used for like latch hook or, no, maybe not latch hook. I don't know what it's used for otherwise. All sorts of things. We're going to trace the mirror onto it. I don't do it right in the corner. I like to leave like myself a little bit of room around the edge. I just used a Sharpie to do that. And then I'm not gonna like totally cut it out. I'm just gonna sort of give myself a little bit, just take off this extra so I have a smaller piece to work with. And then I have a whole bowl of pom-poms that I have already finished. This is what I will be using. And at this point, you can kind of play around with how you want to arrange them. Again, it's an excellent place to get creative and kind of try different stuff. I'm going to be doing them the outside like every other color around the edge. And then putting these white ones on the inside, but kind of like leaving spaces between them. But you could also, yeah, you can just kind of play around with it. You know, you could kind of add in a white one here. So you have like a size combination around the outside edge. Lots of different options for that. But once you know how you want to put them on, we're going to grab a needle. This is size 16, and they're blunt ends. And we're going to be threading these yarn pieces onto this needle, which you certainly can. I did all the rest of them by hand, and then I realized that it goes a lot faster with a needle threader. So my needle threader broke pretty quickly, so I'm literally just using a thin piece of wire. I think it's like florist wire as a needle threader, just because it will make it go a lot faster. And then we're going to sew. So you're just threading one end of the two pieces of yarn that you use to tie a knot. And then I'm going to stitch it on to this plastic, like a 1/4 of an inch or maybe 3/8 in from the edge with that line that we drew. And then you're going to thread the other end of the yarn. And then sew that in like 1 square away from the first piece of yarn. I don't know how well you can see that. And pull that through. And then we're going to knot it on the back, the 2 strings together. And for this step, I'm just knotting it once. That way you can kind of, if you want to move it at some point before it's totally finished, you can like unknot it and move it again. And then you're just going to kind of go around the circle and fill the whole thing in. Since I'm doing every other one, I want to make sure that, you know, that I'm spacing them correctly so that the last 2 end up, you know, I don't want to end up with like 2 yellow ones next to each other at the end. And so I'm gonna kind of like put them in across from each other, one at a time. But if you're doing all one color, or if it's more random and it doesn't really matter, I would just do one right next to the last. So again, we're like a quarter or 3/8 from the edge, sewing them one square away, and then tying a single knot on the back. I'm gonna do, for my layout, I know that it works to do, my first two are kind of at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. Works to do my other color sort of at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. But if you're just gonna kind of go around the edge and put one next to the other, you sew them like pretty tightly next to each other. You kind of want them to like smush up against each other so that there's no, you don't want to see any of the plastic canvas in between them. And kind of the tighter you smush them together, the less they look like individual pom-poms, and the more it gives it sort of that tufted, like all one piece look, which is what I like. Some yarns are thicker than others and more difficult to thread. This one is not behaving. So sewing the second piece of yarn in one square away from the first one, tying that. And then once I have those ones, I'm just gonna do, I'll need two spaced evenly in between there. So you can kind of see how tight I'm gonna have to squeeze them in to fit those, which is good. So this one's gonna go just directly next to the other one, staying about a quarter to 3/8 from the edge. For the larger sizes, if you're doing like a full inner ring as well, you can just stitch them like directly on the line that you drew. Because I think for the larger ones, it's fine to have some, like some of the plastic canvas like overlapping the outside of the mirror. You'll have enough. With that second ring, you'll have enough on the inside of the mirror shape to kind of glue it down and hold it in place. But for this smaller one, I think it works better to go just to the inside. Right, and then this one is going to just fill the empty space in between. Let's see that starting to come together. And this is why I'm doing a much smaller one, because this step takes a while. And take way too long to do a whole big one in an hour. sewing this one next to a purple. And I feel like there's a lot of other things that you could do with this same, like sewing pom-poms to the plastic canvas technique. You could certainly do like a solid filled in shape instead of having a mirror in the middle. If you wanted to do, you know, more just like an art piece for the wall as opposed to the mirror. You could also, if you're very ambitious, you could totally do like a small like throw rug, which would take so long, but it would be very cool. To get through like several seasons of a TV show making pom-poms for that. Also think it would be cute to just make a little like daisy flower shapes. Not on a mirror, just kind of by themselves. I don't know what you would do with them, just little flowers to put on the wall. I'm getting it closer. I feel like all of my favorite crafts involve just like very tedious, repetitive things. And that is my favorite kind of craft. And also like the ability to get unnecessarily perfectionist about things. Spend way too long trimming all my pom-poms to be like perfectly spherical, which is fun, but totally not necessary. So just a reminder, I'm only tying a single knot for now, so that once I have them all on, if I need to adjust the placement of anything, I still have the ability to untie them. Oh, yeah, sorry. Thanks. I'm kind of surprised at how well my little piece of wire works as a needle threader. It was just, for the other ones I made, I just threaded the needles without a threader, and it is totally possible, but a little bit frustrating. And this is definitely making things go a little bit quicker. So I can show you a close-up. When I'm doing like one right next to the other, I do it sort of like, I mean, it's like I put my needle in, not quite underneath the previous pom-pom, but it's like right, my needle goes in like right next to it, so that they're smushed up against each other pretty tightly. And then the last one in this room. All right. So I have the whole outer ring sewn on. At this point, if you are kind of like unhappy with the placement of anything, you can move it around a little bit. Mine, I think, is looking pretty even. I'm gonna leave that all as is. And then these white ones I'm gonna do on the inside ring. And these are gonna go kind of, I want it to be like snug up, like in between two of them here. So my needle is gonna go like right down towards that, between those two pom-poms, but towards the inside there. And then I'm gonna leave a space in between those. On this one, I did them like directly next to each other, but I'm gonna leave a space and go over one just so that it has a little bit of a different shape. A good question. How long did it take to make the pom-poms? That's my mom, and she's asking because she knows it took me a very long time. It definitely does take quite a while to make all of the pom-poms for one of the mirrors. But I don't know if I can give you an exact number of hours, but it's definitely a thing you're gonna wanna do while, yeah, watching TV or just kind of hanging out. Maybe while you're like on a Zoom call. Well, here, I'll put this one in the view here. For that, while I finish up these white ones, in order to get kind of that more random look, rather than having just an outer ring and an inner ring like I did with the other ones, that one I kind of did, you know, there's different sizes, so I'm kind of like puzzling those together. And then after I had sort of a base layer down, I actually went back in and added more pom-poms sort of in between. So like this pom-pom here, I sort of sewed it down in between ones that were already touching. So that kind of just adds like another layer of dimension. Can you glue it instead of sewing? I haven't tried that. I suppose it's like technically possible. I don't think you would be able to get them as like snugly next to each other, like as packed in tightly, which is a look that I like. I think if you're gluing them, it would be hard to make them stay on when you have them squished together. But if you don't want them squished together as much, I think gluing probably would work. All right, I got 2 left. Thanks for hanging around and watching me do all of this. It's like quite repetitive. Yeah, I think like tying, like when I tie, when I like, how do I want to explain that? When I sew one of the pom-poms in, the like extra step of tying it down pulls it in sort of even closer. I'll see if I can. So this is just kind of like resting there. And then when you tie it, it sort of like snugs it in really close. I don't know if that really comes through on video, but I think that's a thing you would miss if you glued it. But I haven't tried, so definitely try and report back. See how that goes. Last one. Looks like my cat finally gave up on bothering me. He's sleeping in a box over in the corner. All right. So again, at this point, you can kind of decide if you like the placement, change anything up if you want to change anything up. Otherwise, go back in, add a double knot to all of these to hold them in place. Keep them from, the double knot will like keep it from loosening up over time. And then let's see, do we have more questions here? Ooh, a wreath would be very cute with this technique. That's a great idea. Yeah, you could attach them to like one of those wire wreath bases. That'd be very nice. Let's see, this yarn that I'm using is, it's sort of like the basic line at Michael's. I think it's the weight is like number 4 or medium. It's just kind of the most, you know, standard of the yarns. And I find that that works really well. Once you have them all tied on and cut the long ends off. Also, thank you. I'm glad you like my hair. And then once we get all of these ends clipped off, we're going to cut the plastic canvas down. So we're going to trim the plastic canvas so that you don't see it from the top at all. Don't use fabric scissors for this because it will dull them. But you can just see, you know, you can kind of see the pom-poms through the canvas. So I'm just going to go around and cut just to sort of the inside of, you know, the knot is tied here, and then there's the overhang sort of the sphere of the pom-pom. I'm just kind of cutting in the middle of that space. And that will be like around the outside of the line that we drew. So for that outside part from the top, we're not seeing any of the canvas. And then we have to cut out this center. And to get the center started, I kind of fold it like a taco and just sort of chop a piece. And then you can get your scissors in there. And this is where it becomes a lot easier if you've done a full inside ring instead of my little like half inside ring. I kind of have to do a weird shape to cut the canvas away in the places that you won't see it. I like cut that empty space out. So you're going to be getting, you know, you don't want to cut all the way to where the knot is. You want to make sure you don't see it from the top. So I'm just going to kind of go around. It's like a little bit scary for the first couple cuts, I guess, but this plastic canvas is very forgiving. And it's nice, it's plastic, like it's not gonna fray on you. And make sure you're not, I mean, you don't wanna like cut the pom-poms themselves either, kind of get your scissors in between the canvas and the pom-pom. And again, if you have a solid inside layer like this one, you're basically just cutting a circle like you did on the outside. And this weird shape is just because I wanted to try a weirder shape inside. Right, so kind of do a first pass and then lay it down. And it looks like, I think I don't see any of that plastic. So I think I did a pretty good job on the first pass there. And then we're gonna glue it onto the mirror. And the glue that I'm using is this E6000 glue, which is, I definitely recommend doing this in like a well-ventilated space because it's pretty fumy, but it holds really well. I really love this glue. In order to sort of puncture that seal, use the wrong end of the cap. And then very important to keep your glue only on the inside of that black line that you have drawn. That will ensure that your glue is only going to be on the mirror and not on the outside of the mirror. Go all the way around. Got it everywhere. All right. Let's see if you can see where I've got the glue there. Again, just only on the inside of the black line that you drew at the beginning. So once you've got that glue on, we're gonna actually put the pom-pom piece on the table, flip your mirror upside down, so mirror side towards the pom-pom piece, and then center that on top of your pom-pom thing. Again, using that black line to kind of center it. And then once you have that in place, flip it over. And to kind of hold everything in place while it dries, I like to just put like a book or something heavy on top of it. And this glue takes like, I think it's 72 hours to fully cure, but it will be dry enough to take your book off. Probably like 6 hours or so, I would say. It'll be dry enough. And as long as you don't like pull on it for another 72 hours or until the 72 hours is up, you should be fine. So, and then you'll end up with your mirror at the end. I think that's everything. Does anyone have any questions? I'm going to switch back to my front view. Does anyone have any questions? I feel like I think I have answered most of them. Yeah, I think I got most of those questions. If anyone else has any, you can throw it in there while we're finishing. Definitely, we would love to see your finished product as you have them. You can tag Michaels and Fiskars and me. You can hashtag make it with Michaels. I think that's everything for this. The next class that we're going to be doing, we have one of those with me if you want to check it out. We have these tote bags. The tote bag you can buy already made at Michaels. And then this is a pieced sort of quilted pocket that we're just going to attach to the outside of it. I think it makes like a super practical and also very pretty Mother's Day gift. So make sure you come and join us for that one. And unless anyone has any last minute questions, I don't think so. I think that's everything. Yeah, have a great night and have fun making.